Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast, Let's Be Curious Together. I'm Brett,
And I'm Molly.
I'm Aldana.
and we're so glad to have you guys with us today. Aldana, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've been talking about this for a long time. We've been wanting to have you here for a long time. And I'm trying to remember, like, when did we meet? How long ago was that?
Oh man,
20,
12 years.
2013, 2012,
Yeah,
something like
I
that?
had just turned 10 years old,
Wow.
and I'm 21 now. So yeah, it's been a minute.
You guys came to the church when you were 10?
When I was 9.
When you were
So
9.
I turned 10 at the church.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I remember like you just coming on like my radar. Like it was just like a gradual coming
Yep.
on. Like then we were all of a sudden like talking sporadically and randomly, and that's really interesting. So
My first really getting to know you was because we had a Spanish service at that
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
okay.
And I was running tech for the Spanish service as well, which I didn't understand a word of anything being said.
Yeah.
But you and your family were there.
Mhm.
And
Translating?
no, it was all Spanish. It was completely in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
It wasn't a translation service.
Oh, okay.
We had another pastor who was teaching in Spanish the lesson of of the day, whatever, but in Spanish.
That's
And we
right.
had people, right? So, but I'm just running tech. I have no idea what's being said.
Mhm.
But you guys were some of the only people that spoke English.
Yeah.
You were the only people that were bilingual.
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh, people I could talk to.
Yep. Yeah. I
That's
remember that.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I remember hearing about you because I think your dad joined the worship team pretty
Yes.
quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty quickly. And then he was telling me about his daughter who played cello. And I was like, she plays cello. How long did you actually play cello?
So
asked you that.
from 6th grade until sophomore year, so 6 years I did cello, and wow, what an experience. I loved learning how to play cello just because I think that's what really introduced me to music
Oh,
itself.
really?
And because I grew up, the annoying little girl who sang all the time, and most of the time it was pretty pitchy, but
If we're saying the truth today.
yeah, if we're being honest. So it was just that to me really took it to the next level.
Cool.
That's when I started diving into like music theory, dynamics, music writing, scoring, all of that. And it was just I was thrown on a whim.
Yeah.
They needed a cello player, and I was like, I'm willing to learn because I had originally joined band because I wanted
That's
to
cool.
play snare,
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and they were like, you're like that tall and snare's that tall. I don't think it's a good fit for you. So then they were like, we'll try on a 3/4 size cello for you, and caught onto it really quick, and that was definitely the start for sure.
I know you've moved on to piano and I'm sure other instruments, but do you ever pick up your cello anymore?
So I don't have it anymore,
Okay.
but I do itch to just grab it every once in a while. I'm just, to me, it's a really, really, I have a strong tie to the cello just because to me, that's what really started everything.
That's so cool.
So now I think back to like, wow, if I had it now, like just what could I do with it now that I've learned so much
Yes.
with it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, I could do so many things with it.
You got to do it. You got to get one.
Yep.
Oh, you got to revisit that. I can only imagine. So,
It's one of our favorite instruments to listen
yeah.
to.
Oh, yes.
yeah,
I
I
don't
wonder if a lot
have
of
that
people feel that way.
musical- I don't think we have that musical bone for cello, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
I played violin for one summer, and it was really my agenda to move on to cello as quickly as I possibly could, but I didn't keep up with it. But I love cello as well. But since then, you moved on to piano, and you were part of our worship team for a very, very long time.
Yes.
Was it like, has it been 6, 7 years?
Oh, when I was 14, so that would be 7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. Recording an album with the church, being so generous with writing and offering the songs that you've put together just through your time with the Lord. And what has it been like to be writing music now?
Wow.
Both lyric and music,
That
by
is
the
a
way?
profound question.
What's
It's so
it like?
it's all starts with my dad having, well, me discovering that my dad had an album on Spotify. And I
Oh,
was
do
like,
we know this? Okay.
and I look into it and it's just like these beautiful songs. And I'm like, wow, I really want to do this.
Really?
And to be
What?
fair, I kept it really low key for a while just because I was still really young. And so I just didn't want to
So when
make
did you
something
discover?
that wasn't good.
When did you discover it?
Maybe when I was 12, 13. But I listened to it and I knew that my dad had written music, but I just hadn't really like looked up his stuff on Spotify. And hearing like the production, the quality, and it being my dad's voice, I was just like, this is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really wanted to do that myself. And so I asked my dad, what did you use to make all of this? And he's like, just this little computer program that you can download and you can start doing stuff yourself. And I'm like, I want to do that. So at first it just starts off with like little rinky-dink songs that sound like it came off of GarageBand. But I was experimenting, I was learning.
Yeah.
And it very quickly became a skill that I wanted to be good at. Not just like, like pastime. Like I wanted to be good at it. And because I'm an overachiever.
No.
And it just turned into like, I felt like a kid in a sandbox.
Did you?
Yes.
So it was fun for you.
It was awesome.
Cool.
I felt like that was my creative output. And he would catch me not having a great day, but I would just go to my room, book it, and immediately start making something out of it.
That's amazing.
Because I felt like, well, might as well do something productive with this,
With these emotions and this angst.
Yes, exactly. And so it just turned into that. And then it became, well, because this was all without lyrics. This was just me making little instrumentals all by myself. And then the concept, what if I put lyrics to this? What if I put my actual thoughts into this?
Wow.
And that was tough for me because at the time I was at the peak of like my health being not that great. And so a lot of my music, which a lot of people haven't heard, was just really sad.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was just all I could think about. And then the concept of what if I just give God glory even when I'm not really feeling it? And the very first worship song that I made by myself was a little snippet that I put on Instagram, and it was called Just You. And it was just my voice and a piano.
Is that on your
was
Instagram music handle?
It was.
Aldana's music.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if I was supposed to say that out loud.
You're good.
I'm gonna go back and look. Basically, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. And so it was just that. And I had actually, that was the first song that I didn't write using Logic or anything. That was just my voice and a piano recorded on GarageBand. And I think once I had listened back to it, I just broke down because I was like, this is what I want to do. And
Wow.
I think that was like the moment of like, I could like hear God telling me, this is your calling.
Okay.
Like, this is what you need to be doing. And then 4 years went by and I didn't write another song. But it was like, that was the like light bulb moment
That
for
is so
me.
human, though. That is so human for us to like hear God's voice telling us, this is it. This is from me. And then to have a certain amount of time go by, because I feel like that those 4 years that went by, obviously were not wasted.
Yeah.
There were other things that were happening. And sometimes the stillness can be, the pause can be what is actually intensely preparing us for what God has for us. But I didn't know that you, so I've always really admired people, just really sidebar really quick. I always really admired musicians that used music as an outlet for themselves.
Yeah.
And the same thing with dance. Like for me, seeing dancers that use dance as an emotional outlet. I was not that type of person with music or dance, but I always saw these artists as being like just seeing their artistry differently. You know what I mean? And having this different organic connection with the craft.
Oh, yeah.
So to hear that you were writing songs out of your emotion at a very young age tells me that you just have a certain organic foundational connection with music.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's really cool to hear about that. So, but that, like you said, that turned from you having it be like a journal, like a diary, like you were writing out your emotions and all of your life into worship.
Yes,
And so
exactly.
Tell us what happened 4 years after then you wrote your first song.
So right after that, well, I guess not right after, but like in those 4 years, I had actually been being on the worship team, and it was like we were going from one season to another, and we had another worship pastor come in, and he brought the idea of let's make an album. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I could maybe like, throw out some pianos and stuff. That's really cool. I'd love to collaborate with people. And we had a she tour happen at the Source Church, and it was like day 3, the last day, talking about empowerment. And I just have this almost palpable moment with God. And I just like, boom, like the night that I go to bed, I get song lyrics.
Really?
All on one go. And that was Remain.
Oh.
It was just all in one go. I had the melody, I had the chording, and I had the words all in one go. And I wake up sweaty. And I'm like desperately trying to find where my phone is, and I'm writing it all down, and I record it just like my voice, because I'm like, I'm not going to play the piano at 4 a.m. And the next day I put a little backing track of a piano, and I come to the album, show them the song, and they're like, this is what I'm talking about. And we record it and we give it to the church, which, by the way, was such an incredibly intimate moment that I did not realize. Of like, okay, first song, I'm singing it in front of everybody. And I like legitimately didn't want to do it, because I'm like, this is between me and God, you know?
Yeah. And it's like your first that's happened like that.
Just you, all you.
Yeah.
Just you, because you had been collaborating with your dad in the past.
Yes.
On at least one other song that was presented and experienced publicly. But this was all you for the first time. That's cool.
That was the vulnerability of it. The people are, I can't blame this on anybody else, you know?
So you basically record the song in like 3 days. It's going to Sunday. Like they're like, hey, this is awesome. We love it. Let's go. You haven't even had time to like redraft it. Like go over it a couple more times.
I'm like, can we maybe tweak this little part right here? And he's like, no, full send. And I'm like, okay, got it. So I'm up there. I'm literally shaking in my boots because I know that the next song is my song. And then our amazing worship pastor, Pastor David, turns to me and goes, tell them about your song, Aldana. And I'm like,
and a vocal intro.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
So I'm just like, oh my gosh, I swear you probably can go back into the stream and just see me literally quivering. And I'm like messing with my hands because I don't know how to stay still, which is another topic. But I'm like sitting here telling this incredibly intimate moment in my life as to where I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm not comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
And I was in a season of, I had to learn to get over me being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And it was like, as I was talking, Holy Spirit was definitely just taking over my tongue, because I know I would have been stuttering a whole lot more.
I don't know if you know this, but you did stutter. I'm just kidding.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
No, you didn't.
You aced it. We were all crying.
Oh.
Well, can I just ask, what would you say was in that moment? What would you say was your biggest hurdle or your biggest fear in presenting your song? What was uncomfortable?
For me, it was just like, because I knew the song was good. I knew it was good. But I was also like, did I present it in the way God wanted me to.
Okay.
Because I had the song, I had the chords, I had the piano playing in my head, but I'm like, is the arrangement right? You know? And then we played it, and it was just like this wave of peace of like, no matter how I could have presented this, God loved it because it was from him and it's to him. And that I've that's what I've felt like consistently with every song that I've written, that yeah, the arrangement could have been a little better, but like it's not my own song. It's just God giving it to me so that I can give it back to him. And I think that answers your question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an open-ended for sure question.
What was, I mean, if you don't mind me going there and just saying, you know, you said that this was coming from a place that was really vulnerable in your life, the moment, you know, that kind of inspired the song, the season of your life that inspired the song. Can you share a little bit about that season of your life? Are you comfortable sharing about that?
Yeah, of course. So I had just been freshly engaged, and my now husband was off in Korea.
Deployed.
And yes, deployed. He's in the military. And to me, it was just a combination of, I have to plan a wedding by myself. This time that I could have to get closer to him is not, I don't have that anymore. There was some family situations going on, some health issues that tried to come back up again, and it just felt like I was being thrown in a loop. And it felt like the reins were slipping from my hands, which I'm a big person who struggles with not feeling in control. And to me, it was just like, God, what is happening? Like, this is not how this is supposed to go. And it was just like, during that I was just really crying out to God, like, please, like, help me bring things back into order. And the sentence that he gave me was, seasons change, but I remain the same. And that's why the song is called Remain, because he remains. And it was just a whole combination of things.
Really quick, the She Conference that you're talking about is the women's conference that happens at our church.
Yes.
Annually, and we have one here in Bradenton, then we have another one in Winnipeg, Canada, at our other campus. So it's a 3-day conference, and so at the end of the conference, on the third day, is when you said you had this moment of inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And what an absolutely sobering and humbling thing for God to tell me, because it was like I was trying to put everything back in order and do everything by myself when that's not my job.
Yeah.
And because I couldn't get everything in order the way how I wanted to, I was so incredibly frustrated.
Yeah.
And then I realized it is not my plan, you know. It is, I'm just an instrument, you know. I can't be the one trying to puppeteer everything. This is that's God's job. So that was definitely it for me. And yeah.
So do you feel, is there a part of the song, a lyric, a line that you feel is either your favorite or that really punches you in the gut, like when you sing it or when you hear it? Like
the very first 2 lyrics, which is, he changed my name, rewrote my fate. I just remember how Jesus literally changed the name of one of his disciples, and it's like that old person's gone, you know, and there's a new person rewritten by him. And that just, to me, reminded me so much of like when I was baptized, that like you're going down one way and then coming back up the other. And then he literally rewrote my fate. Like, I should have died multiple times, but he rewrote to his perfect will. It's
absolutely,
like,
for his purpose.
Yes, absolutely. And the rewriting of my fate is just, I am having a moment. I'm so undeserving of it.
I know.
And
get it.
I don't know. God's just such a good God.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is. You've had an incredible journey, and you've experienced so many things that a lot of people just haven't. You know, we all live our lives. We all have different journeys. Um, I would love to hear a little more about your medical journey.
Oh, boy.
I know that's a huge, I know it's a huge part of who you are today,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and how you developed in your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself. And so let's just rewind a little bit back to those 4 years where you wrote your first song and then you had a 4-year gap.
Yeah.
And then God spoke to you on the last day of that women's conference, the She Conference. So in those 4 years, you said you were having some more medical trouble issues, basically.
Yes. So this all starts with I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at birth, or not at birth, but 4 months after I was born. And that was a process up until I was about 13 or 14. And I had contracted a really not good bacteria that originated from Argentina from when we last saw our grandparents before he passed away.
Oh.
And we came back home.
Wow.
I started getting really, really sick.
So for those of us who maybe don't know cystic fibrosis so well,
oh yeah,
what would be a quick way of explaining what it is?
So it's pretty much your lungs are filled with mucus. There is a mutation in your genes that don't know how to control the excessive amount of mucus production, and that's also in your stomach as well, your digestive. So you can't digest fats properly, lipids, and you need to take enzymes with every meal because or else you don't absorb the nutrients of your food. So a combination of not being able to breathe properly and not being able to get your nutrients properly, which can stunt growth and all of that.
It's a pretty serious diagnosis.
Yep, it's rare. Not many people have it.
And for the people who do have it, I think from our previous conversations, you said that something like most people don't live to adulthood. Is that right?
A lot of them don't live past 30.
30. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Which back then, living to 30 was considered an absolute miracle. So, but I mean, thank God for modern medicine too. Yeah.
Right. So you're going through all this. You already have that
Yes.
you're dealing with. And then you end up contracting this bacteria
Yes.
from
And
visiting your family.
yes. We come back home and I start having these episodes, these exacerbations of this illness. And it just got really bad to the point to where they were sitting down, my parents, in a different room while I'm sitting in a hospital room and telling them, we don't think your daughter's going to make it up past a month.
Oh my goodness.
And for my parents to come back with a smile and look at me and talk to me. And just that was really, really tough for them. So you get doctors telling you this, but you have parents completely believing for something totally different.
So they took a faith stance that you were going to be
Absolutely.
healed,
Yeah.
essentially.
And thank God for them, because I did not have that faith at the time. I was convinced, like, okay, I'm not going to have a family. I'm not going to have kids. I'm not going to be able to get married.
So you understood the gravity of what was going on,
Oh, yeah.
but your faith did not, was just like baby faith, if you will.
Yes.
You were still very much a child in your faith.
Absolutely. I was still in that rebellious teen phase of
Oh.
like, I really don't want to,
You?
Yeah.
Come on.
If you knew me. But yeah.
And I was working with your dad at this time.
Yes.
And we shared an office, and I remember in these moments when he was at this receiving end, and you're at All Children's Hospital, and he was very vulnerable and straightforward with me about where reality was, but where his faith was too.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember like, wow, what a, I was admiring his strength and resilience in the Lord, and your mom as well, to just feel like, no, we're locking onto faith. Doesn't matter.
They were verbally confessing
Yes.
what they wanted to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't wavering, that I knew. And I wasn't necessarily their closest friend at the time, but as far as like what their confession was, they were definitely standing firm that they wanted to see you healed supernaturally.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it happened. Totally.
So what am I gonna say?
Yeah. And so it's just, you go from one extreme to the other, right? You go from me being practically on my deathbed, and then you go 10 days later where I'm just somehow discharged because they're like, you seem to be doing fine. And they run tests and they're like, we can't find that bacteria anymore.
Oh, my
Also,
goodness.
your lung function is completely normal. Like all of your bodily functions are completely normal. And it was just, to me, that was also like, I almost couldn't believe it. But I think that for me, that was just because I lived in that for so long
Yes.
that I was
Yes.
beginning to identify with it.
Yes.
And it was like, not so much that I would introduce myself as, hi, I'm Aldana, I have cystic fibrosis. Not like that. But it was just something so deeply ingrained in me for so long that the enemy just wanted me to only think of myself as that one sick girl.
Yeah, and to just defend little Aldana.
Yes.
For me to defend, not that anybody's attacking her, but when you're at a certain age, it's such a formative time. And in your brain development, you are creating your identity.
Yeah.
You're deciding who you want to be. You're moving into this, like, middle teen years, upper teen years, where life is looking like you have to choose who you are.
Yeah.
And so I can totally understand why all of these really heavy factors around you were influencing you. It's a lot to expect that somebody so young would have a level of faith that could knock the teeth out of cystic fibrosis in Jesus' name. Do you know what I mean?
And you spent a good portion of your childhood in and out of hospital, didn't you?
Yes.
Did you not?
Yeah, that was just considered
The routine.
Yeah, the routine. And it was just like, it was bound to happen at some point this year, It's like, for me, it was a miracle of going a year with like three hospital visits. And then it slowly became 2, maybe 1, and then years going without a hospital like stay.
Yeah.
And the poor doctors, man, they were so confused. They're like, we need to have you come in for like a 3-month checkup at least, because it's not making sense. We really want to prevent this. And I will admit, I was pretty cocky every time I'd stroll in, but they just do their test and I'm just like, yeah, nothing. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then I'd leave and it was just like, but wow, how sobering it was every single time to walk in. And it was like, I'd remember where I used to be. Like even like the specific smell of a hospital room or the beeping of a heart monitor in the background. I'm just like still to this day, like aware of it. And I'm not like traumatized or anything, but it's just remembering where I used
memories.
To be. Yeah.
And that's not your identity anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's so amazing. So God totally healed you. Doctors couldn't figure it out.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This shouldn't happen.
Yes. Yeah. And then it was, I get married and suddenly take a pregnancy test after being told that you can't get pregnant naturally,
Okay, so doctors were telling you that?
Yes.
Okay.
And just seeing that positive pregnancy test. And I was like, what? Couldn't have been the most excited and scared moment of my life. That was just like insanity to me. And I was so unprepared that like I think I just sat there on my bed staring at this little test and just crying, laughing, like hysterically, just like, what? And I'm so excited, and then I start feeling not good, and I go get checked out, and they tell me that I'm miscarrying. And I remember calling my mom and just being like, why would he make me feel so happy and then just take it away from me. And like, I just remember me and my husband were just so like confused. Like, it was just an absolute flip-flop. And my mom's like, Aldana, God's been faithful all of your life. What makes you think that this is any different? And I was like, humbling, first of all. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, I may not really totally feel like I should be giving God glory or I should be believing for this, because I'm already come to the conclusion that like, okay, that's not going to happen. But I just sit down and pray, and I put on worship music, and I'm just believing for something, anything, you know? And then the day after, symptoms start coming back. And I'm confused again. And the next day after that, I go get checked because the symptoms have ramped up to okay, I can't ignore this, you know? They put the little ultrasound thing on me, and they're like, congratulations, you're expecting. And I was like, they told me I was miscarrying, you know? And they're like, nope, that is a perfectly happy little baby right there. And I was like, well, is there any sign of something? Because I had been bleeding, you know? And they're like, nope, no scarring, no changes to like the uterine wall, none of that. And I was just like, could that have been a mistake? And they're like, no, this baby is too big for that to have been a mistake.
Awesome. Wow.
And I was like, wow. And so then again, I come out of
the doctor's absolutely stumped.
Yes, exactly. Like, even the lady was like, that doctor must not have known what he was doing or something like that.
Wow.
So I get out of the doctor's, and again, I'm like hysterically laughing because I'm like, God, you're so funny.
Yeah.
And I remember getting back home and telling Josiah, and we're both just like, yay, you know? And I remember calling and telling my mom, and she was like, I knew it. I knew what God had for you. And so, you know, pregnancy, it's all fun and dandy.
It's pregnancy.
Yeah. And so I tell the CF doctors, because I had just kept it really low key, you know, but then I had told my CF doctors that I was expecting. And oh boy, they were terrified.
Were they?
They were like, it's a miracle that you got pregnant already. Have you reached 12 weeks? And I was like, yeah, I'm way past 12 weeks. And they're like, how? What? And I'm like, yeah, I'm approaching my second, like, I was already well into my second trimester. I was about 20 weeks. So over halfway, almost halfway. No, I was halfway.
Yeah.
And they were just like, you have to be with your family because you could go into labor at any moment. And I was like, what? And so then it just came from, okay, I can have faith, but I should also probably have wisdom, you know, just because I live in Colorado. And so I'm like good 5 or 6 states away from my family. And so they can't come and fly down to help me. And it was just, we fly back and I'm here in Florida and I'm just chilling. I don't know what to do. There's nothing wrong. And then all of a sudden I start having contractions at 28 weeks. And I'm like, oh no. So they take me to the hospital. We're praying and contractions stop. I don't have a baby that day.
Were you actively like praying that the contractions would stop, or what were you praying for?
I was just praying that baby was okay. Yeah. And that if now was the moment that baby would be strong and healthy and they would make it. And
yeah.
We pray and we're just like, Lord, whatever is your will. Like, if baby needs to come now, then it's your timing, you know? And so it was just like suddenly like contractions stopped. And they're like, okay, you're good to go. Just whatever you were doing before, don't do that again.
And you're like, I was lying on the couch drinking coffee all the day.
I was doing nothing. So then finally, 36 weeks, I start having contractions again. I get to the hospital and they're like, we're going to try to keep the baby in for one more week. It's Sunday, January 5th. I get induced at 12 p.m. And after 10 hours of labor, in 28 minutes of pushing, she was out.
Wow.
And she was, what an absolutely incredible moment. I mean, now that I think back to how I reacted, I laugh at myself because I'm just like, I made this, you know, I'm like, they don't send you home with a manual for a baby. Right? So I just look back at pictures of me and you just see this face of like, what do I do?
Shock. Would you say shock?
And they put her on me and like, she looks up at me and it's just like this, like, I'm yours, you know, like I'm your little girl. And I'm like, oh, this is insane. And then she whips her head around and looks at the nurses and she's quiet as a mouse. Like, not like she just went through something traumatic, you know, like she was just popped out, but she was just looking at the nurses so attentively. And the nurses are like, I've never seen such an attentive baby, like just quiet and looking and taking in their surroundings. And it was, oh my gosh, it was an awesome experience. And so it was like, let's recap. They told me I wouldn't be able to have a baby. I get pregnant. They tell me it wasn't going to get past 12 weeks.
Well, they told you
get past 12 weeks. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then they tell me, okay, well, if they get past 12 weeks, they won't be born full term. She gets born full term. And then after all of that, they were like, even if all of that still manages to work, she's either going to have cystic fibrosis or carry the gene to pass it down to one of her kids and all of that. And so I was like, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then
Mama Bear rose up.
Yeah. And
those instincts, man.
Exactly. Yes. And so then they did the newborn screening. Not a single trace of it. And
so cool.
I was just like, that's what I thought.
That's where we really love modern medicine.
Yes.
Like those,
to prove
the screenings.
Like you see the test right there, you know?
Yes.
And then they hit me with that, let's just rerun that screening one more time, you know? And then come back again. Like, nothing there.
Clean. Man.
And that was just like yet another part of my testimony that I just couldn't wait to share with everybody, you know?
So beautiful.
And yeah, that's the story of Naomi.
That's the story of Naomi.
Yes.
Camilla.
Naomi Camilla Clauson. She's the best baby ever.
Chunky cheeks.
Oh, yeah.
Long eyelashes.
She got that Michelin rolls.
She got that dough factory. That's awesome.
Yes. Sweet little round face. Oh my goodness. Black hair, just like Mama. Right?
Yes. She has a analyzing personality. She just needs to inspect every sound, every new face. She's so friendly. She just loves everybody.
You know when babies have a lot going on upstairs.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can sense it, and they do show. They show that they're thinking. They show that they're taking in the details.
Oh yeah.
And you really can tell.
I always thought growing up that I was just going to be a completely different type of mother in terms of that sort of aspect. I always thought that it would just whoosh go past my head. All of that type of stuff.
Like you wouldn't have the opportunity to be a mom.
Yes, and also that even if I were to become a mother, that I wouldn't be as analytical toward the details of a baby.
Sure, yeah.
Their personality and all of that. I just thought like, it's a baby, you know, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But wow, becoming a mother has changed everything.
Do you notice everything about her?
Yes. Yes. I'm just like, wow, I see those details. I'm like, I see you. Yeah. It's crazy.
She's a miracle.
Yes. That's the other thing. I'm just like, you shouldn't be here. And you are. And it's such a blessing to me and everybody else. And on the other side of that, it's, okay, now I have to learn. Yeah. Now I have to because becoming a mother, I always thought was purely instinctual, but now I've learned it's a skill. You have to learn. You got to put in that time and effort the same way as how like I would practice a piano. You know, you have to be there.
Yes.
Got to be intentional.
You got to show up. And our kids are our greatest teachers in a lot of ways. That sounds a little off because obviously they're still children. We're supposed to protect them. But Brett and I are the first to say that parenting has humbled us in ways that we never ever imagined was possible.
They don't teach us by knowing, but they create the situations that force us to learn.
Yes.
That's it.
Like they create the situations consistently, continually that force us to have to grow and to become better versions of ourselves.
Definitely.
To be able to take care of them and be the what they need.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I don't know if you experienced this moment, but I remember for our first that there was this really distinct moment where I suddenly experienced that parental love of unconditional love towards this baby, right? Yes. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is that feeling that no one has ever been able to describe to me before. You know, when other people trying to describe the way they love their kids and you can't find the words to explain it, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh, this is that feeling. Like, this is the helpless baby that only needs from me and doesn't give me necessarily anything yet, but I could not love you more than anything else on this world right now.
It's actually it's awesome that you bring that up because a lot of people don't tell you that it doesn't happen immediately at birth. Sometimes it just takes time. And for me, I had this grand expectation because I'm dramatic. So I'm thinking in my head that I'm just going to like cry, sob, like, oh, my baby girl, I love you so much. And I did love her, but it was also like I hadn't had a connection quite yet with her. And I felt her, you know, when I was carrying her and when she was born, I thought that I was supposed to feel something completely different. And then I finally had that moment when I think it was about 2 weeks after she was born, and had just finished feeding her, and she lolls off to sleep, and I lay her down, and she like rolls her head a little bit, and then she does this big stretch, and it's like my heart just exploded. And I was like, oh. And mind you, postpartum hormones also are pretty crazy. Sketchy. And my husband walks in and is like, why are you just staring at her? And I'm like, she's so beautiful. Yeah. And he's like, she gets that from me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And that was something for me that, because I almost felt bad. Yeah. You know, I felt like, it's not that I didn't like her or anything like that. I just felt like it was wrong.
It's a lot more common than I think a lot of women will really admit or give credit to. You know, we don't always want to focus on something like that because it goes against the picture perfect whatever that society builds around becoming a mother. But I've heard that a lot actually, and for me, I felt plenty of things, but I can't say that I necessarily felt what had been explained to me motherhood would feel like.
Yeah.
I had to walk it out and discover my own motherhood. Do you know what I mean? And be true to my authentic experience.
Yes, creating our own culture.
Yeah.
That to me was like, because you have my family who raised me completely differently. I'm Hispanic, you know, and then my husband who's not raised in the same environment.
Kind of white.
Yes, a tiny bit. And it's just like, they don't necessarily clash, but they don't necessarily harmonize either, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just, I like to call it the sus chord. And
wait, whoa. Let's sit here for a second. You and Josiah are the sus chord?
Yes, but listen, sus chords in songs are So good when
They're
you put
just
them
right.
right.
They're
Yes.
just
just right.
unexpected.
Yes, exactly. Jarring, but in a good way.
And not everybody understands them or like knows what's happening when it happens, but those who understand
Yes.
and know it are like deeply fulfilled in it.
you
You're
know?
such an artist.
Yeah. You really think so? Yeah. Yeah. So it was just having to learn to combine the things that we liked and we didn't like, and then just making things up completely on our own. And then we're like, oh, we're on a roll, you know? Like this is working.
Is it starting to feel good or feel better?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Good.
Like I said, I'm all about that safety and like having a grasp on things, and I feel like we're getting there.
Good.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's I mean, for a 21-year-old who has a 3-month-old baby.
Fresh face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think,
you guys were I just want to give a little credit, I guess, but you guys were super young when you got married.
Yes.
And you're still, I would say, super young. I was all of 5 years older than you are now by the time I was married and having my first kid. And
yes.
but you know, we all have our own journeys and pathways in life, but there have been other, you know, details of y'all's life that have made it where there's a lot being expected of you, and there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to, I would say, grow, but also, you know, there's your life in 3 years, 2 years, 1 year is going to look so different, I think,
it's so much more fun
because of where you're starting from and all of the details and all of the weaving in of different circumstances surrounding your beginning.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's one of those super transformative beginnings, I think.
Yes.
So tell me from your perspective, because I know obviously our situations aren't exactly the same, but we were, you know, dating for a short time, engaged for a short time, and then a hot 4 months after being married, we were pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, so you guys were a little bit faster than that in your pregnancy, but still kind of in that really quick, right?
Yeah.
And although I wasn't deployed, I was working away. I was working out of country for most of the time that we were dating and some of our engagement. So we were also doing long distance a lot. So we didn't get a lot of building connection together.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
But we were so much older.
We were a few years older. But we didn't get a lot. We had these similarities of we didn't get a lot of this connection time pre, you know, marriage. And we finally get married, like, great, we're together. You know what I mean? We're finally together.
Start our forever.
I know. And like, we get to spend time together.
Yeah.
You know, all this, right? We're like so excited for that. And then we're pregnant.
Yes, exactly us. Yes.
And I remember, like, obviously we were thrilled to have, you know, our daughter, and we're not regretting that anyway. But there were definitely moments of questioning, kind of like, what would it have been like if we had a little more time, just us?
We still question it. There's just there's just more grace on it now.
Yeah.
But it's that concept of if we did wait 2 years, how much more time would we have had together?
How much more connected?
How much more connected?
As a couple?
How much easier would our dynamic be? How much better communicators would we have been? And you know, all of those what ifs. I think it's okay and healthy personally for me to process and admit that I have the what ifs, but it's all in how you handled them.
Yes.
But yeah, we went through just like that very quick, tight turnaround, and then our beginning was heavily transformative. So for so many years, I felt like I was catching up to what was actually happening.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, so you guys are moving back to Colorado.
Yes. Yeah.
And you'll be away from family again. And so what do you anticipate from that?
Cultivating the culture.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah. And it's obviously we're gonna miss having our family so close. Yeah. But I am really looking forward to just building that new dynamic of 2 to 3, you know.
Yeah.
And
2 to 3 what?
2 to 3 people in the family.
From 2 to 3
people.
Got it.
Okay, yeah.
A family of 2.
I'm like 2 to 3 kids.
We're shooting for 4. I'm just playing. Yeah. But
things will be a lot quieter. You guys will be. It'll just be you guys.
Yes. It'll be like our frequency again. You know. And because we're both very relaxed, chill, we go with the flow a lot. And if I could, I'd spend the whole time talking about Josiah, but he's he is just that person that you want to be close to, you know, and just we both cultivate so much with each other. We just bounce right off. And just being able to introduce like our little companion, you know.
Yes.
And the beautiful like mix of both of us and having that be a part of it, you know. Now it's a 3-part chord.
Oh yeah.
And hearing all of that's going to be, to me, the best.
Yeah. There's so much beauty in that. He's not here, so he can't speak for himself. But if I could just ask, what's one thing about Josiah that that you know is a really good match for you?
He is the logic. He is the brain. I'm quite the opposite.
Are you Pinky? I'm just kidding.
Yes, I am Pinky. And
she's the feels.
That's a throwback. I'm surprised
Yes.
you knew that. You know that cartoon. But
yes. But he's the organizer.
Okay.
I might bring the emotions, but he'll put it up on the shelf.
I love that. I love that.
Puts it all right into place. And
He frames you.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect term. Reels me back in, you know?
Sure.
And he's just so incredibly smart. There's a lot going on in that brain. He brings so many ideas and different paths, you know. And it's just every day with him is just something new to learn.
He's a really creative guy. Oh, just like you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and he like will jump at any opportunity to cultivate and do something with other people. He will not admit it, but he is a really good team player. He will like to say that he's really independent, which he is, but he is so good at working with other people. It's awesome.
And he plays bass too, just a quick mention. So
he plays bass and guitar. Yeah, electric guitar.
Yeah, so you guys are both musicians. And
yes,
it takes a lot, honestly, to be a successful musician. It takes a lot of that, working well with others and community mind. Yeah.
Definitely.
Have you guys written any music together yet?
We're actually working on something together, which actually that brings me to something else that not a lot of people know, but the second song that I wrote for the church would not have happened if it weren't for him.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
In his name, we had just freshly moved to Colorado. I kind of had my hands up in the air, like, this is a completely new dynamic for me. I don't have my church family. I don't have my actual family.
And you were there because of him being in the military.
Yes,
so he was stationed there. You're kind of forced to go there.
Which, I mean, it was a fun new thing too, but once the honeymoon phase wore off of moving to a different place, it was just like, I'm stuck, you know? And I just remember, honestly, just really moping and feeling bad about myself.
It's all good.
Yes. And I realized I just wasn't quite productive anymore. And I just had lost that spark.
You weren't feeding your passions. You weren't in your normal environment. You didn't have a lot of friends, connections at least, where you could see friends face to face. Like there's a lot about moving to a new place that is absolutely one of the hardest things that people do.
Yes.
But
and you were pregnant.
Yes, I was. And so it was having to navigate all of that away from my friends and family, and that was just really hard for me, honestly. But I kept it all internalized. I didn't want to tell people because I saw that as a sign of weakness. Okay. And the only other person that I could talk to about it was Josiah. And he was just straight up with me like, stop feeling sorry about yourself. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you haven't been doing the things that you love, so obviously you're going to be feeling not great, you know?
Wow.
And so he was like, come on, I set up the studio table. Now go set up your stuff and go write a song. And I was like, fine, you know? And I'm
that
like,
a little Latina coming out?
Yes, a little bit of spice, you know? And I sit in that room positive that I'm just going to sit there and mope for a couple of hours and not get anything. But as soon as I sit down, I turn on the computer, all, huffy, and I play a single little line that's the way how the song starts. And it's just 4 notes, and I play it, and then again, just another download of music. And I'm like, oh. I stayed in that studio for 10 hours that day, and I got the whole song written right there, like backing tracks, 6 different vocals on it, everything. And Josiah just periodically checking in, like, you live in there? Like, you good?
Your little
And I'm
ADHD
like,
hyper-focus.
yes, I'm like, I'm hyper-fixating, leave me alone. And he's like, you need some food? And I'm like, yes. And it's like the day is done, and the song is written. It's something new. And I'm, again, just sitting in awe. I'm like replaying it over and over and over again, just like, again, just so in awe of, okay, there's something else here. And Josiah walks in, I play it for him, and he just like pats my back and is like, see, I knew you still had it in you. And I'm just like, I hate how right you are sometimes.
It's good.
And then I send it over just to my dad, and I'm like, hey, check this out, new project. And my dad decides to put it on blast to the whole worship team.
Oh yeah.
And then I get a text being like, hey, I heard you're coming to Florida this time. Hey, we're leading that song that Sunday. And I'm just like, what? And so we play
That was just my demo reel.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I still have to tweak this, And then we play it, and again, just that moment of peace of like, this is what God wants me to do.
I love that.
It was like, I think the second service that we played and we got off, I just like bolted to the green room and cried. I was like, it's just so mind-boggling how a song that you wrote can be just as powerful to you.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's that moment when it's truly the Holy Spirit working through you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I haven't obviously had that songwriting because I'm not a songwriter, but I have had that speaking, where I'm speaking something, and like I may have thought to start in this general area, and I'm like, okay. And then as I'm speaking, things are coming out that I'm like, whoa, like that wasn't my thought. That wasn't something that came from me, but like, that's really good.
Yeah.
And then I could go back and listen to it later and go, I said that, what I mean? Oh, wow. Then like that, clearly that was God, just using me just to speak. Right.
Yeah.
It's so cool when you can be in those moments of God's using you to birth something.
I've had that teaching
or something.
Yeah. It's such a surreal moment. And like, I just want to point out, as wives, where the Bible says, wives, submit to your husbands.
Yes.
And there are definite principles that we live by, biblical principles that we live by when it comes to marriage and our roles in the marriage. But I just want to point out, like, you guys are so new in your marriage, fresh in your marriage. There's all room for growth and room to make mistakes. And we feel the same way as far as like, we still feel really new at marriage, even though we're 10 years in. And there's got to be room to be human. And there's got to be room to have this like space and margin to grow. So, but even in the times when you might feel like you're disconnected, like I've experienced this with Brett, where if we're disconnected, or if, we just had a fight, or if things aren't quite like, peachy keen or like smooth as butter or whatever, there are definite times that God has directly spoken to me through my husband.
Yes.
And in action, in practice, in just verbally, or, when he's showed me patience or whatever, God will just speak. And that's just an incredible, just little touch point on how powerful marriage can be.
Oh, yeah.
How powerful it is when God is at the center, or when you get married and you both are submitting your lives to the Lord.
Yes.
First, like, I just love hearing that he was the one to kind of set up your studio and like
Yeah.
and invite you into a moment you didn't even know you needed or
Yes,
wanted.
exactly.
And he knows your passions, which is so beautiful, and how, expression of how much he loves you and whatnot. But I just think that's really beautiful. And thanks for sharing that with us, because that's like to me that's a really like personal moment, you know what I mean? Personal, intimate detail. But yeah, so God is just birthing so many new things in you. Like you're newly married, newly mommed, and this songwriting thing is happening. And have you written a third song?
Oh, I have like pretty much a whole album.
But we have Remain in His Name, but those are the only two that I think we know.
Those are the only two that you guys know, but the rest are in the works, you know.
Nice.
Those are I'm probably going to be working on when I get back to Colorado and getting those done. But yeah, I've pretty much ever since In His Name, I was just kind of like getting into almost like becoming like a factory of sorts of just getting these new ideas and trying to do something with it.
Fantastic.
It's awesome.
I remember hearing In His Name and Remain, and just it specifically In His Name just like washed over. We were all like trying to write songs for the album and like collaborating and like working on things. And In His Name came, and it just felt so in the pocket of our culture as like a church community, as like the faith statement. Oh my gosh,
for it
such a power-packed song and such a powerful declaration song. It's the kind of song that I want to sing.
Yes,
that I absolutely like want running through my head, because it's such a strong faith statement and stance. And I remember hearing it, and I'm like, that's the one. That's the one. Like that is the culmination of everything this moment calls for right now.
Yes.
And we're all so connected to like the vision God has placed on our church and whatnot, and we're all like kids of the house, so to speak. And I feel like I was just really proud of you in that moment of bringing your gifts and like offering so generously the things that God has given you to give.
Yes.
And I was just so proud, and like that song is beautiful and wonderful, and I just can't wait to see what else is that God's stirring up, you know what I mean, in your creativity. And it
was such a beautiful moment for me, I'll say, if I can say this selfishly. It was a beautiful moment for me during the recording of the album to see you on the platform singing the songs that you wrote. And not only was it like, okay, these songs are so amazing, and you know, you've been submitted to God and him breathing them through you, and you being willing to, you know, let us all be a part of them and, you know, contribute,
because the artist has to give things up. And that's a step.
And being willing
a step
to be vulnerable that way.
But
it was a whole other level too of having walked this health journey with you. One that very much took away your ability to sing, your capacity
term.
Like when you were sick, you couldn't sing, really. You couldn't breathe, you know what I mean? And there you are, healed and singing with the very thing that, you know, the enemy was trying to steal from you in your health. And it was just like, this is such a beautiful moment right now.
I got new breath, might as well use it, you know. Might as well use the lungs I have now.
Singing "Great Are You, Lord," like hacking the mucus out.
It's
your breath.
It's not my breath.
But we are all really powerful walking testimonies, and I think what you've represented is like you've been submitted to what God wants for your life. And I think we all have that responsibility to have our lives be laid down in that way, so that our community, so that God's name and his character and his love for everybody can just be poured out. And that is a life worth living, is when the work of your hands is God breathed and when it is spirit filled.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, my goal for In His Name was just like, who is he? You know, what can he do? And not just like, what can he do for me, but like, what has he already promised? And I remember so like vividly thinking, listening to the radio, and I'm like, where has the name of Jesus gone? You know, there's a lot of worship music out there that I just feel has like, they've completely taken that name out of it. And I'm just like, no, we got to bring it back, you know? And so in that song, it's Jesus, plain and clear, my Jesus, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, like, how can I make it known that the person that I'm talking about is like here for everybody and not just for, you know, like the devoted Christians, you know? And I felt like it was a really good reminder that Jesus is for everybody. Like any person who can come to him is transformed. Any person who desires in their heart, their soul is saved.
Yeah.
You know? And just, yeah.
Where do you want your, where do you see things going as far as what do you desire for your artistry for the future? It can be tangible or intangible.
I just want Holy Spirit to be there. You know, I just want for it not to be me. It's not a me. It's a gift that the Holy Spirit gave to me. And I've always just wanted it to be known that I'm just a vessel, you know? And that's why whenever people ask me, like, how do you write your songs? And like, what's your thought process? I legitimately just sit there and twiddle my thumbs because I'm like, I don't know. I had a dream, you know? And it's just insane how like God can work through people in completely different ways. And to me, it is so like in an unnatural way that I can't explain it to people. But the biggest thing for me was just making space for him. And as soon as I open that door, as soon as I make that space, that secret room, you know, that's essential. The secret room. Soon as you go in and you make that quality time, you're intentional. God he does it, you know, it's not me. He does it all.
That can speak right there. I mean, how many of us are not willing to slow down and have a quiet space, right?
Yes.
To have a distractionless, quiet space in today's world.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge major difference between artistry for Christians and then artistry for non-Christians is non-Christians are extremely just self-indulgent in their artistry, and it comes from a place of self. It comes from a place of this is an expression of what's going on inside of me. This is the vision that I have. This is the message that I want to send. This is I. And they pour themselves into their artistry, no matter what medium it may be. But Christians, we aren't creating things that are notable unless God is in the picture. And you can tell when Christian music maybe has been written without Holy Spirit inspiration. Because there's something off, because they're singing about God, or
the words seem right.
The words seem right, but there isn't that infusion of spirit, that divine spirit. And in order to do anything notable in our lives for God, we need him to make it happen. So I love how you explained that. That's really cool. That's really cool. And I just want to also mention, you've gotten so much better. I mean, if I could just say as like an older sister figure, okay? You've gotten so much better at receiving compliments.
Oh, thank you.
And like not making it awkward for the person who's just trying to express something they may not even understand that they're saying. Like if somebody has a response to what you do, they want to respond, they want to say something, and it happens to come out as a compliment. Or the only way that we're able to actually like somehow connect is to connect with the like human being, you know what I mean, the body, but what they're really responding to is something spiritual. So I feel like you've gotten so much better at responding in a language that's like, this is about God, let's give God credit here, but it's not like, oh no, that was Jesus. But it's in your humility, and like you respond in humility and in grace, and I've seen you grow a lot in that. And I'm also somebody who needs to grow. Like I need to grow in that. But but it's a language I feel like I've seen you develop over the years. Oh yeah. And I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
Just to point it out.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was that was something I used to really struggle with. Just because to me, I didn't see singing as very much like my person, like my person.
Yeah.
I wasn't a singer.
Sure.
That was just like a craft, you know, like it was a hobby. And so for somebody to be like, you're a really good singer, I'm just like, that's just an extension of me, you know, it's not really who I am. But well, and I think that for me, it's, if we're getting vulnerable here, I was almost in a sort of prideful way, just like wanting to refuse the compliment, you know, because there's two different sides. There's I'm really cool. And then there's that other side that not a lot of people talk about where it's like, oh, no, I can't possibly take that compliment, you know? But then it was like finding that middle of like, I appreciate it. I'm a vessel of God. But God gets the glory, you know? And it took me a while to figure it out. But I think that the ability to talk to other people better about that just became a lot more easier once I had started getting closer to God myself. And so either way, just my relationship with the Lord has just obviously really matured me. So that's helped.
It has helped. It has helped.
That. So tell us what's coming up. You said you're working on a whole bunch of stuff. Can you tell us like what we can expect? What's coming around the corner?
I'm working on my own personal EP. And Remain and In His Name are probably going to be on there, but I'm hoping to write those in Spanish.
Wow.
And that's what I'm really
Which
looking
is your
forward
first
to.
language.
Yes.
Just to point it out. Yes. Yeah.
And
is the whole album going to be in Spanish?
I'd like to do a whole album in Spanish, but those two I'd probably do as singles for Spanish, and then the rest of them in English, and then later down the road to do it in Spanish.
Yeah.
But I'm working on making my own little thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
will there be cello in this album?
Now that you actually bring it up, I had a dream that I was playing a song on the cello.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the song, but I knew that it was my own. And it was, so a lot of how God talks to me is very vividly through dreams. And that's how a lot of my songs came. And that's why I knew that, like, okay, I really do need to bring that cello back. You know? It's almost like going full circle, starting on that cello, and then being able to cultivate that in my new craft. And that's something I'm really excited about.
Cool.
But I'm working on an album with Josiah and my father as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited.
That's awesome. I know, obviously, I haven't heard the rest of these songs that you're working on. I'm just going to say I could totally hear Remain as a cello ballad.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I'd love to do that.
You know what I mean? Slow down, big and spacey. And
yes. I had this whole like imagery in my head of cello and acoustic guitar and just like a lot of reverb, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Something like, because I feel like that just makes things so much more intimate, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
So essentially, would it be accurate to say when you record your own album, say on what's the program?
Logic.
Is that like audio engineering?
Yes.
Producing audio production.
That's the part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yes. Which I can't wait to dive into that more. I've always been I'm not very good with the tech side, you know. A lot of my songs take a long time, not because of the amount of takes I need to make, but because I just need to figure out how to use that thing, you know. And I'm just really looking forward, not just in the music aspect, but also just the strategies, you know. I love to figure things out.
That's awesome.
Good.
So people are listening to this podcast. Do you have anywhere that they can go to like start following you and be ready for that EP drop? Or
so I right now don't really have a official music page. I mean, I have like a Instagram page where like I just kind of upload fun little stuff, but I do plan on being a lot more active on that now.
Which
You
is
do have a
what?
Spotify artist page now, don't you?
Yes, I do.
So maybe they might
So
be able to
yeah,
find you
it's
there.
yeah, it's Aldana Renovalis on Spotify. And to listen to my little fun snippets or infusions of songs, you know, that would be on Instagram called Aldana's Música. So music in Spanish. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And for now, the 2 songs that she wrote, In His Name and Remain, are on the Source
Worship,
Church,
yeah.
Source Worship, Spotify.
Yep.
Yes.
So people can check those out if they want to hear.
Yes. And the song that I co-wrote with my father is also on there, Light of the World.
Light of the World. Yes.
Also a great song.
Fantastic. Great. Cool.
Donna, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today.
Thank you so much for having me again.
This has been so much fun.
Yes. We should totally do this again.
Yes.
Absolutely. And hopefully next time we can line up to have Josiah.
With Josiah.
And possibly the
Calling
baby.
him out.
Hey.
Oh, we can have her.
Yes. Just show her off, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next time. But if you have any questions specifically that you want to ask about the content we talked about, or any thoughts or encouragements for Aldana, please drop them in the comments below. See you guys next time.